The French Emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte. He crowned himself ruler, then was conquered by exile.
In the twilight shadows of December 2nd, 1805, the snow-covered hills of Moravia lay stained with blood. On the fields of Austerlitz, a 36-year-old Corsican artillery officer turned French emperor stood victorious over the combined might of Russia and Austria. Outnumbered, with his 68,000 troops facing nearly 90,000 Allied soldiers, he executed one of the most brilliant tactical traps in military history. As the Allied center collapsed and the 1,000-year-old Holy Roman Empire shuddered toward dissolution, Europe realized a terrifying truth. The old world of hereditary monarchs and static warfare was dead. In its place stood a single, indefatigable force. How did a boy born on a Mediterranean island, possessing no royal blood, rise to redraw the map of Europe and bend history to his will?
Napoleon Bonaparte, born Napoleone di Buonaparte, was born on August 15, 1769, in Ajaccio, Corsica. Initially a fierce Corsican nationalist, he became French by nationality and destiny, rising to become Emperor of the French and history's most dominant military figure. Operating in the fields of military strategy and political administration, Napoleon is considered overwhelmingly influential because he exported the ideals of the French Revolution: meritocracy, legal equality, and secular governance at the point of a bayonet. His life reshaped the legal frameworks of dozens of nations, revolutionized the mechanics of modern warfare, and ignited the flames of nationalism that would define the next 2 centuries.
The world Napoleon was born into was one of shifting allegiances. Exactly 1 year before his birth, the Republic of Genoa ceded Corsica to France. His family, minor nobility of Tuscan descent, lived in modest economic conditions compared to the aristocratic elites of mainland France. His father, Carlo, pragmatically submitted to French rule to secure a better future for his 8 surviving children. At age 9, Napoleon was sent to France for his education, entering the military academy at Brienne in 1779. He was a lonely child, mocked by aristocratic peers for his provincial manners, standard height of 5 feet 6 inches, and thick accent. Retreating into studies, he developed a profound talent for mathematics and history, idolizing Alexander the Great. In 1784, he entered the elite École Militaire in Paris. Following his father's death, Napoleon assumed financial responsibility for his family, graduating rapidly in 1 year, ranking 42nd out of 58, and receiving a commission as a second lieutenant in 1785, at merely 16 years old. Napoleon's mind was forged in the crucible of the Enlightenment and the chaos of the French Revolution. He read voraciously, absorbing the works of Rousseau and Voltaire, which fueled his early Republican sympathies and disdain for the unearned privileges of the Bourbon monarchy. When the revolution erupted in 1789, it dismantled the rigid aristocratic hierarchy that would have otherwise capped his career. The revolution created a vacuum in French military leadership as royalist officers fled. His brief attempt to enter Corsican politics ended in a bitter feud with local leader Pasquale Paoli. In 1793, his family fled to the French mainland. This hardship stripped Napoleon of his romanticism for his homeland. He committed himself entirely to France, realizing his survival depended on the Republic's success. Napoleon shifted from an obscure officer to a public figure during the Siege of Toulon in 1793. The strategic port city had rebelled against the Republic and invited the British fleet into its harbor. The 24-year-old Captain Bonaparte took command of the artillery. Demonstrating exceptional spatial awareness, he positioned his guns on a promontory threatening the British ships, forcing their evacuation. For this triumph, he was promoted to Brigadier General. Following the fall of the Jacobins in 1794, Napoleon was briefly imprisoned. His political salvation arrived on October 5, 1795, when a royalist mob marched on the National Convention. Ordered to defend the government, Napoleon ruthlessly deployed cannons loaded with grape shot. This action killed some 300 royalists, saved the French Republic, and earned him command of the Army of Italy. The event that transformed him into a European superstar was the Italian campaign of 1796-1797. Taking command of a starving army of 38,000 men, the 26-year-old general initiated a blitzkrieg across northern Italy. He implemented his core military philosophy: move faster than the enemy, divide their forces, and concentrate localized superiority.
Within weeks, he defeated the Kingdom of Sardinia and drove the Austrian army out of Lombardy. Battles like Lodi and Arcole became legendary. He personally led a charge across the bridge at Arcole, cementing his image as a fearless warrior. This campaign was a breakthrough because it altered his status. He became a political force, independently negotiating the Treaty of Campo Formio in 1797, sending millions of francs back to Paris and founding 2 newspapers to cultivate his public image.
Napoleon's ascent was systematic and unprecedented. 1798-1799, Egyptian campaign. Seeking to disrupt British trade to India, he invaded Egypt with 35,000 men and 167 scientists. Though his fleet was destroyed by British Admiral Horatio Nelson, the scientific expedition discovered the Rosetta Stone in 1799, birthing modern Egyptology. November 9, 1799, coup of 18 Brumaire. Returning to a volatile France, Napoleon orchestrated a coup, making himself first consul at age 30. March 21, 1804, Napoleonic Code. He enacted the Civil Code, replacing feudal laws with a unified system guaranteeing equality before the law and property rights.
The 2nd of December 1804, coronation. He crowned himself Emperor of the French at Notre Dame Cathedral, taking the crown from Pope Pius VII to signal his power came from merit, not divine right. 1805 to 1809, Empire Zenith. He crushed the Third Coalition at Austerlitz, 1805, devastated Prussians at Jena, 1806, and defeated Russians at Friedland, 1807. By 1810, his empire reached its greatest extent, ruling over 70 million subjects. Napoleon is known for his military genius and the creation of the Napoleonic Code. The media of the era, primarily newspapers and bulletins, actively built his mythos. Artists like Jacques-Louis David painted romantic portraits of him crossing the Alps. People paid attention because his methods broke the rules of warfare. He pioneered the corps system, self-contained armies capable of uniting rapidly before a battle. His name became a symbol of meritocracy. A common soldier could rise to the rank of marshal. Beyond the military, he became world famous because his administration brought order out of revolutionary chaos, creating the Bank of France, stabilizing the currency, and establishing the public education system in 1802. Napoleon was a paradox, a dictator championing the Enlightenment, a cynic with a romantic streak. His primary motivation was an unquenchable thirst for glory and a deep belief in his destiny, often referring to his guiding star. His working style was notoriously intense. He possessed a staggering capacity for labor, frequently working 18-hour days, dictating to 4 secretaries simultaneously, and surviving on 3 hours of sleep. His memory was photographic. He remembered the names of common soldiers in his 150 regiments. His belief system was highly transactional. He viewed religion as a tool for social control. His leadership was charismatic. He knew how to speak to soldiers' hearts. However, his greatest weakness was his hubris. He was fundamentally incapable of knowing when to stop, viewing static peace as a personal defeat. No biography is complete without addressing his failures and controversies. Historians vigorously debate his legacy. Some view him, while others classify him as a tyrant responsible for millions of deaths. His first major strategic error was the Peninsular War from 1808 to 1814. Enforcing his continental system, a blockade against Britain, he invaded Spain.
sparking a 6-year guerrilla war that drained resources and resulted in 300,000 French casualties. The ultimate failure was the invasion of Russia in 1812. Assembling a Grande Armée of over 600,000 men, he marched on Moscow. The Russians retreated using a scorched earth tactic. Napoleon captured Moscow, but was trapped by winter. The retreat was an apocalyptic disaster. Disease, freezing temperatures, and raids decimated his forces. Only about 112,000 soldiers survived the campaign. Furthermore, he faces severe ethical criticism today for re-establishing slavery in the French Caribbean in 1802, leading to a brutal war against the Haitian Revolution, led by Toussaint Louverture. His strict press censorship and minimization of women's rights remain significant stains. Napoleon's impact swept across society. In the short term, the Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, ravaged Europe, resulting in an estimated 3 to 6 million deaths. He fundamentally altered geopolitics, dissolving the Holy Roman Empire and unwittingly igniting German and Italian nationalism. In the long term, his most profound impact was legal. The Napoleonic Code forms the basis of the private law systems of more than 70 countries today. He modernized bureaucracy, establishing centralized systems that became blueprints for the modern state. In science, his Egyptian expedition birthed modern archaeology, and his military demand for preserved food led to the invention of canning by Nicolas Appert in 1809. Today, Napoleon is remembered as a complex, polarizing figure. His reputation fluctuates wildly. His tomb at Les Invalides is a national shrine in France, while elsewhere he was long seen as a ruthless dictator. Institutions worldwide study his campaigns. Tactics from Austerlitz are taught at military academies from West Point to Sandhurst. He has inspired over 10,000 books and countless films, from Abel Gance's 1927 silent epic to Ridley Scott's 2023 movie. His legacy is embedded in everyday life. Even driving on the right side of the road in Europe is attributed to his logistics. His image transitioned from a tragic hero during his exile on Saint Helena, where he died at age 51 on May 5, 1821, to a subject of intense modern debate. The life of Napoleon Bonaparte reveals the terrifying and awe-inspiring power of human ambition. He was a man who proved that the limits of what one individual can achieve are far wider than society dares to admit. Rising from an obscure island to master the European continent, he demonstrated that sheer willpower, backed by immense intellect, can bend the arc of history. Yet his eventual downfall at Waterloo on June 18, 1815, and his lonely death serve as a timeless warning about the intoxicating nature of absolute power. Napoleon's life shows us that unchecked ambition can build empires and rewrite laws, but it can just as easily lead to the frozen plains of Russia, leaving behind a legacy balanced on the scales of magnificent creation and catastrophic destruction.